From the kingdom of Nye and the land of eternal shadow, but still anchored onto planet Earth via the high desert and the great American Southwest, I bid you all good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, as the case may be, across all possible time zones. Manhattan Island westward to the Pacific and the Hawaiian Island chains, eastward to the Caribbean and the U.S. Virgin Islands, south into South America, and worldwide on the internet and beyond. This is Ghost to Ghost Deadwave Radio. Actually, if you go back and look, and I know some of you will, I predicted this will happen. I'm your ghost host, Art Bell, returned, from the dead. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you all, whomever and wherever and whenever you may be. Well, how about that? I'm still around. I wonder what kind of tuner you've got, but with these new gizmos available out there, I really doubt you're very surprised to hear me. Really quite impressive I can hear myself so well. I'm a believer that if I can broadcast, somebody can pick it up. Or do you? Gosh, I don't know how I could take calls at this point. Your hearing me seems amazing enough under the circumstances. Still, I'm told we're thinking of ways, because you know there's loads to talk about. Calls from the audience aren't possible yet, but calls are possible from certain other free spirits with whom I was apparently entangled back in the day. And we have the first of those guests coming right up. A mystery guest. I have no idea who it is out there. I just know that they are dead. But I want to say something first about all the mainstream news about UFOs lately. Holy cow, can you believe it? Gosh darn it, they had to wait till they thought I was gone to come public with this stuff? Here's a quick summary of what I've gathered from the headlines. This is from The Sun from London. And I quote, the U.S. Department of Defense released 3 Navy videos in April showing pilots interacting with UFOs. The clips showed 3 separate incidents involving, quote, unidentified aerial phenomena, unquote, one from November 2004 and 2 from January 2015, including the famed, quote, tic-tac, unquote, video. And yes, it's shaped like a tic-tac. Always liked tic-tacs, didn't you? I wonder if anyone's talking to the makers of tic-tacs on this one. That was a candy that was way ahead of its time to begin with. Maybe they know something. Maybe they had a reason for polluting our world with little hard plastic boxes. And on the subject of the tic-tac, none other than John Brennan. John Brennan, who ran the CIA during the Obama administration and was a leading figure of enlightenment during the recent darkness, says, quote, I think it's a bit presumptuous and arrogant for us to believe that there's no other form of life anywhere in the entire universe. He, however, put it in rather more interesting terms, quote, it could involve some type of activity that some might say constitutes a different form of life, unquote. Well. Are you folks ready? This year's going to be a wild ride. I mean, you're already listening to a ghost. Here's a little publication called the New York Times. You heard of it? No longer in shadows. Pentagon's UFO unit will make some findings public. For over a decade, the program, now tucked inside the Office of Naval Intelligence, has discussed mysterious events in classified briefings. The Pentagon's program director, The previous program director, Luis Elizondo, a former military intelligence official who resigned in October 2017 after 10 years with the program, confirmed that the new task force evolved from the Advanced Aerospace Program. Mr. Elizondo is among a small group of former government officials and scientists with security clearances who, without presenting physical proof, say they are convinced that objects of undetermined origin have crashed on Earth with materials retrieved for study. Okay, are they now? Are they? I mean, how about a little, and thanks to Art Bell for keeping hope alive? Ingratitude, folks, ingratitude. Continue. Eric W. Davis, an astrophysicist who worked as a subcontractor and then a consultant for the Pentagon UFO program since 2007, said that in some cases examination of the materials had so far failed to determine their source and led him to conclude we couldn't make it ourselves. Mr. Davis, who now works for Aerospace Corporation, a defense contractor, said he gave a classified briefing to a Defense Department agency as recently as March about retrievals from, quote, off-world vehicles not made on this Earth, unquote. Fascinating. And this is from the last issue of New York Magazine. This month, Chaim Eshed, who used to helm Israel's defense ministry, came forth with even more jaw-dropping claims. He told Yediot Aharonot, an Israeli newspaper, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, told this newspaper that humans have made contact with aliens and even formed a, quote, galactic federation, unquote. There is an agreement between the U.S. government and the aliens, he said. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here. He also claimed that there's an underground base in the depths of Mars that hosts both American astronauts and extraterrestrial representatives to the aforementioned Galactic Federation. Richard Hoagland, anyone? Eshed, who ran Israel's space program for almost 30 years, is perhaps the highest-ranking official in the military-industrial complex to make the case that humans are in contact with aliens. More on the Galactic Federation when we're back, and with, I'm told, a surprise guest. I don't know who it is myself. Honest to Betsy, I don't, but I'm excited. Aren't you? We'll be right back.
Find your own way nigh, then dial 11.
Some velvet morning when I'm straight, I'm gonna open up your gate and maybe tell you about Phaedra and how she gave me life and how she made it in some velvet morning when I'm straight.
Flowers growing on a hill, dragonflies and daffodils learn from us very much. Look at us, but do not touch. Phaedra is
probably shouldn't take pleasure in being right. It's just that, well, it feels so very good. I mean, come now, this Israeli general, the Galactic Federation.
Aloha, Art Bell. Long time no hear, friend.
Oh, my goodness, I know that voice. Oh, gee whiz. You know, I really, really hoped that it was going to be Terence McKenna.
Here I appear to be, by a commodious vicus of recirculation.
Well, it is exactly who I thought I would never get to talk to again. Aloha, indeed. Our friend Terence was an author and philosopher, an earlier supporter of the psychedelic internet, and a prophet of a movement that hasn't done anything but swell since I've paid attention to it.
That's swell of you to say so, Art. But it seems it was too little, too late.
Yes, things appear to be quite bleak back there.
Bleak is not the word. Let's just say I'm currently enjoying a perspective several thousand miles higher than Maui, Hawaii, but I still seem to be stuck there just the same.
Like me with the high desert.
Art, I admit in my lifetime I believed the UFO phenomenon was an imaginary cultural hallucination. But I admit my conversations with the mushroom and via various self-replicating elf machines convinced me that if there were aliens, they were certainly already here.
Well, yeah, Terry, I was intrigued by what John Brennan was saying, putting it into the context of a life form, not a craft. So maybe these Tic Tacs, they live here too somehow, somewhere? Anyone out there remember the rods?
The rods, goodness no. But how interesting that even now we the dead have no answers to these questions.
Indeed. The journey has just begun, my friend. Gosh, you know, Terence, this brings back so much. Back when we were alive, just as we were making friends, I felt that you were taken away.
Me too.
Man, oh man. I was so sad the last time we talked.
Art, apologies. My death was ridiculously uncomfortable for all concerned. Be sure of that.
You know, to be honest, I was usually entirely skeptical with my guests. It was my job to be, really. But, of course, my experience seeing the triangle in 1994 changed some of those things. Also crop circles, you know. I fell for that hard, if you recall.
It's a secret human art that spans centuries and cultures. What's not to remain excited about? But Art, that face on Mars. I always wondered why it was Mo Howard up there.
Well, now, it doesn't look quite so ridiculous. If you read the Jerusalem Post, they mention an alien base on Mars. But back then, what I'm trying to say to you is that you were singularly convincing, Terrace, and I wanted more. But darn it came so damnably fast, your death. I wish I had followed you more. You could have cured me. My addiction to painkillers and uppers had just ruined my life. And I hate to say, in the end, it ruined my show. I feel terrible how I left my new collaborators in the lurch.
Art, your living nature has not died. You're picking me up, for goodness sake. Holy hell, I have no idea how, or really who I am, and how this is happening. But I am that it is. And apparently, I'm still here talking. And if that's the case, I need someone to talk to. I made my share of mistakes. Time wave zero and all that. Hogwash. I wonder if it was the tumor talking. Snake oil. So I should get that out in the open.
Oh, snake oil. No, are you kidding me, man? I sold the real stuff. Blew the wad on 2012 also. A fiasco of the Mayan calendar. Not to mention my politics. No. I was pretty messed up.
Humans are messed up. The voice of reason is unreason. Humans are addicts. We have to be. Our teeming ancestors in prehistory, after they were cast out of their long-earned Eden, almost went extinct. We were down to 750 for a period of 1,000 years, surviving only on oysters. I often think that's why we're so horny. Addiction has many claws.
Oh, I could never get enough at Red Lobster. All you can eat.
I smoked cannabis from morning to night. Our addictions are often extremely personal.
Oh, no one knew the extent of my pill use, neither of my wives. Certainly not. No doctor knew of the other doctors who also prescribed me the same medications. No one knew except for a very lovely cat or two. It was such a solitary thing, Terence. I'm telling you, terribly lonely.
Art, we are edge dwellers, you and I. We always have been.
Now, Terence, hold that thought. It's the top of the hour, and I've got to take a break.
To talk to Art Bell, find your own way now. Then dial 11.
And we are back, coming to you from the meaning of night when day is gone, but stars shine eternal and hard. Far out high above the wide and misty oceans, below the underground caverns of Mars, never thought to exist in all other ways around the infosphere. This is Ghost to Ghost Deadwave Radio, and this is your Cyber Art Bell. From the great beyond, Terence McKenna, you are the author of how many books?
Oh, enough. I don't remember.
Terence, could it be our addictions to drugs are why we're here now?
I don't think so. I feel it's more possible the universe just likes talk radio.
Ha ha, you mean it likes us talking?
Well, yes. For we, too, have the gift of the gab. It's in our nature. It is our nature. Art, for some reason, perhaps because I ingested ayahuasca in the Amazon in '68, that special year in the West. And when I opened my mind to the thoughts that began dawning, well, ever since that time, I can just talk and talk and talk on these subjects.
You are a voice raving at a rave, Terence McKenna, in a state of raving.
Art, you and me both were known for giving the silent self the finger. Me literally, you metaphysically. We appear to be platonic ideals of our own particular voices. Voices need partners. Mouths need ears. Well, it happens that voices can ride light. And we, if we believe this is real, and I do...
My belief in it alone might sustain it? I'm afraid I don't understand the logic.
You know, I used to think, with a lot of what I was up to in my time, you might as well be running down the street naked, screaming. No one's still going to pay any attention. Being dead feels like I'm naked, but sitting down comfortably and having no desire to scream.
Considering what you were thinking when you were alive and coming up with your theories, what is different now? What would you change?
What a whopper of a question. But I'm the Big McKenna. There's obviously quite a lot that has changed. Of course, what surprises me is what is the same. That language still exists, and we're still wired for it.
Mm-hmm. And what about the little green men you used to talk about?
The self-replicating machine elves. Only green in your imagination, Art Bell. But now that you ask, this idea that I was anything beyond this voice we're hearing now, so hard to shake, caused me to misinterpret the experiences I had on my DMT trips. I believed the beings I encountered were small, and I was the larger. I see now how wrong I was. The small was the true large. We were the minutia. I was made of alien intelligences all the way down, and I mean all the way down, from brain to heart to liver to family jewels. I thought I had discovered a new realm of the imagination, but this idea presumed there was somewhere else, outside of imagination. It turns out the imagination is not some non-real space. Imagination is the real dominion of our particles. It is populated by numerous, indeed limitless, self-replicating elf machines in all directions.
And, Terence, what are the machines made of? Metals? Or are they organic?
These machines are made of syntax alone. They are the smallest particular choice makers of our beings and are more alive than we. Their speech is the same as action. The elf machines are the closest to consciousness we can get. We are very far away from that edge of the real normally, already constellation-like projections of nature for its own observation. It is hard for monkey brains to fathom, Art, but we are the entities that are under the observation of the particles, not the other way around.
Ah, fascinating. And in this formulation, we are their fantasies, giant machines they've pulled off.
Affirmative. We are the shadows their motions have set in motion, gigantic to their eyes, monstrous self-aware paradoxes who sadly lumber about with nothing much to say at all.
Well, of course, Boris Karloff did okay in a similar situation. Terence, I think you're quite right. We're dreamed up by tiny particles. Those little guys have magic powers, my friend. We are everything they want us to be, even now. You and I may very well be pioneers in the next stage of their concept for us. So what about it, folks? Giant, self-aware shadow beings? Doomed forever to fail to be real? Well, give it a little time. Give it a little bit more time. And don't touch that dial. We'll be back on the bottom of what we call an hour with Terence McKenna.